Morning everybody. So this video is for anyone studying English Literature GCSE for Eduqas, and I am focusing particularly today on Component 1, Section A. So that's the Shakespeare question, and we are going to look at Macbeth. I'm going to focus on the Macbeth extract question. So I'm going to do a quick overview of the paper, have a little look at what the paper looks like. We're going to have a look at what the previous questions have been, and then we're going to go through how to tackle the extracts. All right, so this is a 2-hour exam. It's likely to be your first English literature exam, your first English exam in 2025. That paper is on the 12th of May, so it's quite early in the exam series. And you can see here it's a 2-hour paper. You spend 1 hour on each section. So that's an hour on Macbeth or Shakespeare and an hour on your anthology poetry. You get 2 questions, and that is different from other exam boards. So when you're watching videos on preparing for your Shakespeare exam with Eduqas, make sure you are finding videos and revision resources that talk to you about Eduqas, where there are 2 separate questions. So you get your extract question, which is worth 15 marks, your mark for AO1 and AO2, so your ideas about the text and your ability to analyse the writing in the extract, and that's going to spend about 20 minutes on that. And then your 25-mark whole play question, which is where you're going to go through the play chronologically, exploring a particular idea or a character, and then you're going to spend 40 minutes on that. So here's a table with the previous questions on. So these, on the left-hand side, you've got the extracts that have been used, and on the right-hand side, you've got the whole play questions. I am going to do a video with some of the extracts that I think would be really good to know that haven't been used yet, but there isn't any point particularly trying to predict what extract might come up. It will be something where there is a significant change or shift or development with the characters, with the plot, with some of the ideas, but actually it's the methodology that you need to use that's more important. So what is the methodology? Firstly, it's really important that you read the question twice and that you underline the question topic. Very, very often, as you saw on the previous slide, they use the question with some sort of content about what's happening in that passage, like characters are talking to each other. How would the audience react? But they don't always. So it's super important that you hone in on what the question topic is. Then you're going to need to read the extract really carefully, making sure that you understand where it happens in the story of the whole play, and that you go through highlighting any pieces of evidence that you could use. Don't start writing until you have been through the whole extract and you've selected maybe 6 to 8 quotes from the beginning, middle and end of the extract, and you've really thought about why, what are the ideas in that extract that the audience will be reacting to? What are some of the things that Shakespeare is doing? So, very important that you place the extract within the story of the play. So your first 2 or 3 sentences in your answer are going to be placing that. And it can be as something as this, simple as this on the screen here. So in the extract, in this section of the play, Macduff has gone to England to help Malcolm to raise an army to defeat Macbeth. This is significant because it leads up to the final battle. So they're placing it in the story of the play and they're saying why it's significant. That gets the ticks because that is all that Eduqas want you to do. Even better would be to talk through some of the ideas that, excuse me, talk through some of the ideas that Shakespeare is setting up in this extract. So from the end of Act 4, you don't get any additional marks for saying where it comes from, but you're showing that it's coming later in the play. This extract shows the reality of Macbeth's tyrannical reign in Scotland. And that's that whole idea that this is a reaction to what's happening in Scotland with Malcolm and Macduff in England. Macduff has fled to England to help Malcolm raise an army to defeat Macbeth. This is significant because it allows Macduff to take revenge against Macbeth. So you've got 2 things there. You're setting up that fact that you are going to talk about the tyrannical rule of Macbeth, and you're setting up the revenge narrative, which is very important in the end of the play and Macduff. All right, so once you've placed the text and you've got your 2 or 3 sentences, you're going to track through the whole evidence making extract, making sure you've got evidence from the whole thing. You're going to make sure that you're really clear about whether it is a soliloquy or a monologue or an interaction between 2 or 3 characters. You're going to track some of the thoughts and feelings and ideas that are in the extract. So when you're given an extract, you should be able to retrieve some of the ideas that you've already memorised about characters who feature in the play. So if Macbeth or Lady Macbeth are in this extract, you should be able to identify some of those characters, whether they're being dominant, whether they're being manipulative. And the same goes for the other key characters. Then one of the other things that you should be able to do with the extract is to identify some of the key themes that we know come up time and time and time again. Power and the abuse of power, the idea of good and evil, the idea of ambition and loyalty and betrayal, the supernatural, issues of fear. So you're looking for those ideas that you know exist in the play in your extract so you can talk about them. You're looking for changes in mood and atmosphere and relationships. You're trying to see how it is going to be presented as a drama piece and therefore enable you to reference the audience. Okay, so what should your response look like? So don't forget that your first 2 or 3 sentences are going to be placed in the extract. Then you're going to go into the meat of your writing, and you can just do that as one big paragraph if you want. You're going to work chronologically through your 6 to 8 quotes. So you can say something along the lines of, firstly, the audience sees the idea of evil and violence when Ross reveals that the Macduffs have been killed. So firstly, we've got our organisation, we're going through it in chronological order. Then we've got a reference to the audience. We've got our idea there, the idea of evil and violence. We've got our reference to the text, wife and babe savagely slaughtered. Then we've got this identification of technique, the use of sibilants and the little explanation. So you have got that and you're going through the passage in order with that. Could your explanations be detailed? Yes. Do they all need to have long detailed analysis? No. There isn't a requirement with Eduqas to analyse in detail every single quote. The requirement is to go through the passage in order with your explanations and to analyse some of them, particularly focusing on Shakespeare's rich use of imagery, language that means that it is clearly part of the drama text, talking about stage directions if they're there, talking about entrances and exits, some of those things that make the drama aspect of the play more interesting. All right, so that was a really quick summary of how to answer the extract question. Up next, I'll be doing a short video on the whole play text. And as I said already, I am going to look at some of the passages that we might expect to come up.